Hello, folks. Hello, welcome back to your favorite show, Unfiltered. And then you call it giddy. In English, it's like today we are going it like crazy because the man I have here, you know, I'm sure those of you who have read a little history have heard about one guy called Ivan the Terrible. Well, I have Ivan here, but he's not Ivan the Terrible. This is Ivan the Sharpshooter. Ivan, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You're a sharpshooter. And it's always good to have you here.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
We always learn from the best. Like, so once
Oh,
you are there,
it's funny. It's funny because now I watch you and I'm like, oh, tell me, I'm not learning from you. But that's how the world is.
We read inspirations from you. Yeah.
Good. Well, it's good to have you here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be
let's
back.
go right away because when I have you here, I just want to milk you as much as I can.
Sure.
Somebody had the song, it said, I'm hearing things. I don't know whether it's true, and I don't know whether you've heard anything from your angle, but I'm going to start with that. People are saying that it seems that finally something seems to be coming out of oral. Yeah. And they have mentioned, let me mention names that they have mentioned them, Wuntumi.
Yes.
And the other guy, what's his name? Adubuahin guy. They said these may be the two MP people who may go in first. Are you hearing anything or these are just rumors?
Yeah, I think those you mentioned are public and people are privy to the details of these two people moving from court to court. And I know a number of dockets that are on the table of the Attorney General that he's working on. But you see, the energy of the people with regards to dealing with corrupt officials as against the pace, I'm sure there seems to be a mismatch.
Yeah.
The reason why you see the public reaction, because
there's a mismatch between
the public energy, how people
and the
want
pace
to see, and the pace at which prosecution.
To quote the president, says the wheels of justice grind slowly.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, I understand that a large majority of Ghanaians are impatient to see those who abuse their public trust in office held to account. As President Mills of blessed memory said, he said, and I quote, "The wheels of justice grind slowly."
What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, that has always been because the difficulty here is that you can also bundle people and throw them to jail.
Yeah.
But people want to see a certain agency, that sort of giddy, let it be done, because the rate at which these people stole from this country, the impunity with which they operated, and the fact that they are still masquerading on the streets, still seeking to find some justification that we didn't do anything, is the reason why we are walking free. Then just seek to put some sort of indictment on those who in the past made those claims. And some of these claims were not made out of a vacuum. There were factual realities that were assigned to any of the claims made. But you see, to prove these things in court is a different ballgame altogether. So that is why everything has been given to the Attorney General to marshal every resources that is available to him to ensure
some have said
speedy
he's
prosecution.
Slow, some have said there have been also criticisms.
Yes.
Are they justified, or he is going according to what we hear is how the law should go?
No, you see, in politics or governance, you can never take a stance against the people. This is what the people want. So it doesn't matter what the government is doing is right, is in line with procedure or whatever. The people want to see a certain energy. And I think government must match that energy. Because at the end of the day,
no, go ahead.
What brought the government on board was the same energy that was detached from the other government because of the excesses that people.
So when the government comes now and says, but you should understand we have the rule of law and it grinds slowly, should the people understand it, or should people be telling them no? Please move. What do we do?
To a certain extent, that I'm saying that for the government, you can't go that giddy way. But you need to draw inspirations from the energy of the people. That in as much as these procedures go through stages, you can also speed it up. That is the thing. You understand? That is why the last time I mentioned that all the wastage that is being thrown to the office of the special prosecutor, which has brought this whole thing, I'm looking at the way we can resource the AG's department to make it more robust, more effective, and maybe have even regional offices just to make sure that the prosecution is not only happening in Accra, but some of these criminal cases, maybe we can set up a separate court that will be dealing with some of these things, because the Attorney General working on some of these things is different from the court also having time to deal with the cases. So that distinction has to be drawn. So we can have the Attorney General working on about 30 dockets, but the court procedure, the pace, are we going to match it? You understand that? But the public is sitting behind the scenes. All that they want to see is these people having their day in court because of the this thing that they did.
But that law was there. And the rule of law, the so-called systems was there.
Yeah.
When His Excellency Kufuor came into power, he said, I'm going with fast track.
Yeah.
And I want to prosecute as many people as possible.
Yes.
Well, whether it was whatever reason, he went with fast track.
Yes.
It's fast track. I know Chachu came up with the challenge that the system was illegal.
Yes.
Is the system of fast tracking permissible? Is it legal? Or not?
I think we need to draw inspiration from what happened during Kufuor's time. You see, there was that energy. We want to see speedy prosecution. But if you are not careful, your act may also contravene the provisions as outlined in the Constitution. And if you are not careful, it will render everything nullity.
Okay.
Because Chachuchi Kata challenged the constitutionality of the fast track High Court.
And won, actually.
Exactly. So in the end, it rendered the whole thing something I don't want to use a certain word to describe. So we must also be very careful. In as much as we are seeking justice, we need to, go through the constitutional way just to ensure that we do not walk out of the constitutional remit. But within the constitutional fold, I am with the view that there are a lot of avenues available for us to deal with some of these things. The Attorney General may be overwhelmed considering the number of cases and so forth. But I think the other side people also not getting the mere fact that about 1,000 cases are sitting on the tables of the Attorney General vindicate the fact that the criminal excesses of these people were unprecedented. I don't know if you get it. Because ordinarily, we are supposed to have few cases dealing with it. But almost everybody who served in the previous government
has a dossier
that has to be worked on. And it's the reason why the public energy, because for the public, they saw everything that happened, the excesses, the corruption, the thievery, the impunity, everything. And that is what has brought that kind of energy. They want to see that speed. But the government does not have the resources to execute in the manner to match the energy. So I think sometimes I will not say expectation to tone down, but the pressure from the people is legitimate, because that is also give the government some motivation to act. But once you relax, people will come after you. If there is somebody who has suffered in recent time, I think it's the Attorney General. You understand?
Yeah.
It's not as though he's not doing anything.
Yeah, but he's been bashed
exactly
tremendously.
Exactly. Because
he's even afraid to come to my show. No. If he listens to me,
And when I see these things, I become very happy. Do you know why? Because Ghanaians have grown in this politics, and they've come to realize that the accountability element of our politics, of our governance is key. And it doesn't matter who is there. People must be held responsible and accountable. Because over the years, there was this notion that government was a free ticket to unholy wealth. You can just get in, make money, at the end of the day, nobody will question you. But if we've gotten to a time where it is not the occupant of various offices who are going after criminals, but the general public who virtually have no certain vested interest directly in whatever happened, but wherever they find themselves, they want these criminals to be dealt with. If you are there in power, it will checkmate you and see that.
Is it accurate to say then that the people are in a hurry? They have realized the need to hold these people accountable, and they're in the hurry.
Yes.
Incidentally, the people are in a hurry, coming against a system that is its own pace.
Yes.
How do you advise the people now? Oh, so, they slow down, and when they slow down, the vim dies.
Yes.
And I think the biggest fear that the people have is that this thing is so slow. That what if people It's so slow that people can get away with murder because of the slowness.
Slow pace. So I think we need to make a distinction between the act being slow and a certain deliberate orchestration on the part of government to derail the whole thing. You understand? But on this particular part, I see some commitment that the government is willing to do. The resources, the machinery, and the bulky nature of the cases makes it quite impossible for the government to execute some of these things. Okay. So in as much as the general public want things to be done in a very fast speed manner, I think we must also hasten slowly to recognize that we are in a democratic dispensation.
Yeah.
On 7th January, when I swore the oath of office before the people of Ghana, I swore to uphold the 1992 Constitution. I may be as impatient as everyone else to see justice done, but painstaking investigations must be conducted, dockets must be prepared, charges must be filed, and the accused must have their day in court, including appealing even on the smallest point of law to higher courts. This process is necessary to protect us all against abuse or ill treatment of citizens, and to ensure that only those guilty of offenses against the state are punished.
You cannot bundle people and throw them to jail. Today you might think it's Xenophobic. Today you might think it's another person.
Yeah.
But the narrative can change. It can flip. Yes, that's whatever our anger is. I think we need to hasten slowly and allow the system to. But if the system is slow, we are entitled to criticize. So that heat is what will push government to also realize that, hey, the people are really on top of us. We need to do these things in a hasty manner. But as long as we're doing this thing within the confinement of the Constitution and we've not regular out, I think that is appropriate. But we just have to speed it up. The public concerns and whatever that they have will be in place.
Great. My last question on this one, then we can move on.
Special question.
Is this particularly, should the government be concerned about the individual who becomes the Attorney General? Is it possible under other circumstances that we could have had an Attorney General who was so dynamic and so fast that things would move faster, or whoever is the Attorney General will conform to a certain speed and will become slow?
Yes, I think I had a conversation with some people on some platform, and I told them that if you look at the current Attorney General, what people forget that he's a member of Parliament who is clothed with extra duties and stuff. He has constituents that he must answer to. He has parliamentary duties. And on top of that, he's the Attorney General, Minister of Justice. So within one person, you see there's a multifaceted role that is assigned to a person. He's a human being. To whatever energy he put in prosecution, to a certain extent, his attention time will be taken away because he has a seat to also win.
Not to cut you, but my producer had said at one point that he thinks generally it's a mistake to hire an Attorney General who's an MP. Because they are colleagues. They eat together, they plan, they have fun. And so if you take one of them and say, now you are in charge of hounding them, well, not handing word badly,
prosecuting
but prosecuting them. It affects them because enough. What do you think about that?
I understand, but if you have your conviction intact and your allegiance is to the people, to the flag, and to the constitution of these people, charged with the duty to execute such a serious mandate, I am not sure you sacrifice for some petty friendship you have with somebody in Parliament. That one I disagree. The point may be where I agree with him has to do with the dual role he's playing, because the Attorney General itself is a dual role, because you are a Minister of Justice, an Attorney General, and then you are an MP. You understand? So there's some sort of a triple role folded into one. So it comes with pressure and horror. Yes, he has deputies and staff, but all these things is not even about the individual. It is about how effective the office is, because there are other lieutenants who work with the Attorney General. He may give directives and stuff, but when it comes to the actual lieutenant, he is not the only person who does it. He has other people doing it. So if you're able to structure the office to be so effective, so robust, even in the absence of the AG as a person, the other lieutenant can act and we will still achieve prosecution. It's the reason why I mentioned the last time that the resources we've pushed into the office of the special prosecutor over the years, that has resulted in nothing, amounted to nothing.
We wanted to signal to the world that we are going to fight corruption. At the end of the day, we have seen the results. And we cannot continue to allocate that huge sums to the same office when we are not getting the results. This is one of the agencies we should be looking at. It's getting almost the same amount like the Attorney General's department.
That resources could have gone into the AG's department, strengthened it in such a way in terms of human resources and personnel.
I'm glad you brought it up. Let's go into this topic now. The OSP.
Yeah.
The argument, which sounds to me, that we must find somebody who is truly independent, who's not afraid to prosecute corruption because it doesn't belong to any party. The person is independent. Is that argument sound?
Yeah, it's sound.
But it's not possible.
It's sound, but I think there is a mismatch between what is happening and the concerns being raised by the people. The fact is that the issue we have, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, has never been about the occupant being aligned to one political party or the other. Yes, Martin Amidu was brought on board because at the time he was a disgruntled member of the NDC.
We have fulfilled the campaign promise to establish an independent Office of Special Prosecutor to focus on the prosecution of corruption-related offenses. The office is up and running, manned by an experienced, well-known prosecutor who, we are all aware, has been an active member of the opposition National Democratic Congress and cannot be described by any stretch of the imagination as a member or sympathizer of my party, the ruling New Patriotic Party. His appointment was deliberate to highlight the independent nature of the office. And I'm optimistic his work will justify the confidence the Ghanaian people and I have in him.
Maybe Akufo-Addo government thought that this is somebody whose energy we can exploit to go after his own people because he has this feud with them. But it didn't work out because Martin Amidu has proven to be a person of higher conviction. When he realized that people within the government were messing up, he wanted to go after them. But he had a clash with the government that resulted in those words that we heard, that branch. So when Kyei Jabin was brought on board, people thought that he was going to do things differently. But don't forget, this guy is somebody who is also tied to the front strings of the power that be in the past. But because of his job, he lost the connection with them and stuff, and then he became back and forth. So it has never been about who is occupying. It is about the constitutionality and the political narrative placed on the office. Since day one, I mentioned that office was a useless creation. But first of all, there is nothing independent about the Office of the Special Prosecutor. There's nothing independent. But no, because the Constitution, which is the mother legal document for this country, has backed all the powers when it comes to prosecutorial power and authority and given it to the AG in Article 88, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is absolute jurisdiction ceded to the AG. So in our quest to create a certain para institution to rival the AG when it comes to prosecution, it cannot be possible unless the Constitution is amended and then you give a constitutional footing to the Office of the Special Prosecutor. But we didn't do that. We just created that office. Did
the Constitution need amending though? Because the Constitution says that the AG is authorized to give firepower to whoever it is, to the prosecution. So it doesn't seem to me that there's any issue here. The issue is right now, nobody has talked about the OSP's office not being good or bad, whatever. People are just saying that he doesn't have enough powers to prosecute. Should the power just all come from the AG? And if it is that, can't he simply say, okay, now AG, I'm giving all the powers to him, go ahead and prosecute?
I'm prosecute. That is the default position. Because the very day the OSP Act attained constitutional legitimacy, the default position was that they will do investigation and they will prosecute. And that has always been their innate mandate. And that has propelled them to where they are, even though they haven't been able to prosecute anybody successfully. That has been their innate mandate. But the question has always been the political narrative and the twists and turns placed on it, making it look like an independent body that can take a case like Shraj, like the Electoral Commission, that are constitutionally independent, this particular office has never been constitutionally independent because it is under the umbrella of the AG. And if you go to the mandate, if you go to the Special Prosecutor Act, I think Section 4 downwards, it's quite clear that they will operate under the direction and control of the AG. So how dare you say the office is an independent office? It was just political narrative. That was why some of us in the beginning said that this thing was set up and it was going to fail from the beginning.
So it means it was set up on the wrong premise from the beginning.
From the beginning.
And whose fault is that?
Because the whole thing was,
somebody must take the blame.
Exactly.
The whole country set up.
But don't forget that the office of the Special Prosecutor was a political campaign promise, which President Akufo-Addo promised.
We have fulfilled the campaign promise to establish an independent office of Special Prosecutor to focus on the prosecution of corruption-related offenses.
Yeah.
So they rolled it out like a political reparation package. We said we will bring it, and we have brought it. Whether it is feasible, realistic, whether reasonable, constitutionally viable, whether it is within the remit of the law or not, they didn't care. All that they wanted to was to put a certain narrative around that. Office of the Special Prosecutor has been created true to our political promise. That was it. So there was this constitutional argument around it. Over the years has been debated, but nobody availed his mind, and it is shameful today to listen to people like Okujato and then how do you call it?
The Okujatos?
The Okujato, the old Okujato.
Okay.
And then what is the name of this man? Kyei Otu. Who, a certain extent, were very powerful people within the government who could have cautioned the government about the unconstitutionality or the legal fragility of this particular institution. But they all sat aloof, kept quiet. Today, you hear them granting interview, challenging the constitutionality of it. But this thing, some of us saw it from the beginning, that the Attorney General cannot
Why did they keep quiet in your estimation?
Politics conviction is something that is not easily assessed, especially when the cash is flowing and when you are part of the.
And I didn't hear then the NDC also then in the position saying no, this is not constitutional. They seem to have welcomed it as well.
Yeah. NDC, even at the time, they couldn't have raised any issue because this is an institution that is being created to go and fight corruption. If you dare rise against it, people will tell you that then
corruption.
So you see, there was that dilemma there. But I think what breaks the camel's back is the recent ruling from the High Court. The High Court, and to a certain extent, personally, I disagree with the judge and his judgments because I think the ruling wasn't necessary because we've all argued that the office of the Special Prosecutor has never been independent. But for the fact that the Act has attained constitutional legitimacy, its default position must be established. That is prosecuting and investigating. Over the years, that is what they've been doing. And in the Act, it is operating under the control of the AG. Nobody can dispute that. Even the Special Prosecutor Act, it is there. But the point is that they are prosecuting. And there is something we call implied prosecutorial authority. You might not source it directly from the Constitution, but because you are operating within that jurisdiction based on an act that has attained constitutional legitimacy, the court should have realized that once the AG has the power to file for nolle prosequi whenever the OSP pick up a case, then he should have maintained that status quo instead of saying that anytime the AG, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, want to prosecute, they should go for authorization. It's unreasonable in practical sense. So you allow them. For instance, the police. You know the police have been doing prosecution. They do a lot of the criminal petty prosecutions. Do they write to the AG for what you call authorization? They don't, because there is this hanging implied prosecutorial mandate that has been given to the police. So
it's not written, but it's not
implied. Exactly. So until otherwise is decided, you allow the Office of the Special Prosecutor, because with the prosecutorial mandate, people see it as a useless office.
I came to support my friend who told me. My matter there is useless. That's nothing in it.
So if you take away the prosecutorial element, then it becomes super useless.
What does it mean to now all the cases that he has prosecuted?
That is
are they all now not valid prosecutions?
No. They may be. I think, fortunately, they haven't been able to prosecute to convict anybody.
Okay.
That's good news. And the second part is the settlement that has to do with, because the Special Prosecutor Act, I think it's Section 71, one of the sections has provision for plea bargaining, and I'm sure they've done a lot of that behind the scenes. So if the premise is illegal and unconstitutional, it means whatever you bargain on it become illegal. It's like negotiating a contract on a premise of fraud. Fraud vitiates everything. So if you lack constitutional legitimacy as an agent clothed with a certain prosecutorial powers to take up such issue, whatever negotiation you engage with any other person standing on the illegal premise, the whole thing is invalid. So maybe that's the time for the Attorney General to go into some of these matters and begin to see how they can. But I disagree with the ruling, because he should have allowed them to do and still project the supremacy of the AG's power. Says that if ever, whenever the Office of the Special Prosecutor takes up a case and the AG want to discontinue, the law allows it, because prosecution and prosecutorial powers and authority is in a bag and has been handed over to the AG. He owns it. You cannot create parallel institution to rival or fight over. But I think that the mistake here is the occupant of the office too. He has been going around throwing his weight around his independence. When you know, he himself is a lawyer, you know you cannot source any independence from the Constitution. If somebody's power, part of it has been plugged and has been given to you. If you go to your mandate, they've indicated quite clear that you are in the shadow of the AG. In terms of practice, you can choose to disconnect yourself, but you cannot adduce any cogent legal argument to free yourself from the clutches and the influences of the AG. It's not possible, because constitutionally you don't have that. So they should have pushed for some sort of a constitutional re-engineering. And you see, there was a lazy approach. Parliament need to be serious. You see, when this whole thing said, they wanted a shortcut, because we should have gone through constitutional amendment process. I think that comes under the padlock kind of way that we needed to go through extra process. So people didn't want to go through referendum where we do this and make those changes. So shortcut was what was used to create this particular office. And today it's back to bite us. But the main case is in court, because the high court doesn't have power to render the act ultra virus or to say that the act itself is in contravention with the Constitution, and for that matter, it has to be scrapped or has to be nullified. So the Supreme Court has the power to do that. So when that pronouncement is made and they are able to conclude that the act is in direct contravention of the Constitution, then we can scrap it all together.
Let me get this right. Are you suggesting then that even initially the idea of creating that office should have gone through some referendum?
Yes. It should, because the power of the AG that has been padlocked by the Constitution. The Constitution, I think that I don't know. I've forgotten the word that I should use for those entrenched clauses. I think it falls within the entrenched provisions, like the term of the president, like this. They're like this. You need to go through referendum.
No, it's appointing a special prosecutor and entrenched.
No. If you want to break the monopoly of the prosecutorial power the Constitution grant to the AG. So creating the office of the special prosecutor, you can create any institution, but the power you're going to clothe it with has already been given to somebody already, and it is absolutely no uncertain terms. You cannot share unless they give it to you. Until that constitutional amendment is done, any other parallel institution you create in a bid to deal with prosecution, either the AG will grant it that unsanctioned or sanctioned prosecutorial authority, or you do constitutional amendment and source it power directly from the Constitution, because today the power given to the Electoral Commission is directly from the Constitution. Nobody can control it. From the Shraj, directly from the Constitution. From AG, directly from Parliament, directly. But if you pick the Constitution and you read, you will not find a special prosecutor anywhere. It means the constitutional framers did not envisage that part. So if you want to, we need to amend the Constitution and create that the AG from henceforth is going to share his prosecutorial mandate with until that is done. They can go for the express one, what the police has been using, the implied prosecutorial authority. Then the special prosecutor can also go for the implied. They don't need to. What the difficulty I find with the ruling is that, you see, I keep telling people that every judicial rulings or court rulings must have underpinning legal philosophy that is reasonable. So whenever a judicial ruling is taken from the legal context and it is inserted into the social space, it should make sense. Because
it has to be relevant.
It has to be relevant, reasonable, should take all the boxes. The reason why when the Supreme Court came out with the ruling that birth certificate, passport, so when you pick it from the legal realm and insert it within the social space, it was highly unreasonable. Yeah. That was why people rose against them. So whenever you are in court, you should also be very mindful about some of these things. And also, modernity has brought a lot of changes to society.
Should that aspect, the fact that it's not relevant, the fact that it's not applicable to society, is it enough to say that then the ruling is null and void?
Oh, in his bid, maybe, you see, when you are interpreting constitutional clauses, depending on who, discretion is very key. So there are judges who choose to go purposive. There are those who go restrictive way, and there are those who go expansive. I'm looking at where we're going expansive because of the dynamics in society. You don't just close your eyes to the text sitting in the books. Somebody say when Jesus came, he did this, and you go after 2,000 years, you want the same thing to replicate. It's not possible because society has expanded. Jesus' time there was nothing like television. There was nothing like satellite and those things. But today, so the same context cannot be applicable here. So 1992, the Constitution was written. Society has expanded. So if you are interpreting any constitutional clause or text, you need to be very expansive by drawing in every single scenario that society finds itself in. That will give modern rationalization to anything that they are doing. It's the reason why America, in one bit, will padlock abortion and make it illegal. At some point in time, they have to open it up. At some point in time, they close it up. Because modernity is supposed to dictate the pace of law. No law dictating the pace of society. So if you're a judge and you are very restrictive, very rigid in your thinking, I went to law school, you believe in the colonial, you belong to the colonial stage because the world is moving fast.
I'm sorry to throw this thing in light because by what you said just reminded me of what somebody said. He said that because you quoted something about Jesus, what he did then, and now the difference. The person said when he read that Jesus had fed 5,000 people with 3 loaves of bread or something. For him, that was not the miracle. He says the miracle was that Jesus spoke to 5,000 people without the microphone.
You see how funny some of these things are. So,
but let's get back to the seriousness of this thing. And you have mentioned that initially the idea was His Excellency Akufo-Addo then was fulfilling a campaign promise that I'm going to bring
Office of the Special Prosecutor and fight corruption.
We have fulfilled the campaign promise to establish an independent Office of Special Prosecutor to focus on the prosecution of corruption-related offenses. The office is up and running, manned by an experienced, well-known prosecutor who, we are all aware, has been an active member of the opposition National Democratic Congress and cannot be described by any stretch of the imagination as a member or sympathizer of my party, the ruling New Patriotic Party. His appointment was deliberate to highlight the independent nature of the office. And I'm optimistic his work will justify the confidence the Ghanaian people and I have in him.
Let's say when that happened and Martin Hamidou was picked, if it had gone in the direction that he was then upset with the NDC, so he went unabashedly and tackled and prosecuted NDC people, you think there would have been any noise or would have been just like, that's what he's supposed to do?
No, I think the situation would have determined what, because you see, you can target your political opponent and prosecute them, but the prosecution must be premised on something they've actually done. You walk them through the prosecutorial mail. You make sure that every bit of the box is ticked, and then they will be seen guilty in the eyes of the law. Because where we are, you cannot like bundle people and throw them into jail. Even the court process, Ghana, we are lucky. The court processes are always subjected to TV and punditry review all the time. So if you are a judge, just the same way we are sitting here reviewing this ruling, you know, if you give a reasonable ruling, people will come after you. You see the way the Supreme Court suffered in recent time when people felt they were doling out doses of foolish rulings. People came after them, you understand? So at this time around, you cannot be playing, oh my God, put that horse wig on your head and play Lord. No, people will question you. So you must begin to realize that you are doing within the remit. So if Martin Amidu had gone on to take up prosecution and acted within the remit of the law, people may have their reservation, all right, but the intention was to exploit his anger. Because this is a guy who at some point in time was the Deputy Attorney General, has risen to the higher pinnacle of political power, and all of a sudden the relationship between him and President Mahama Mills all of a sudden dwindled, and he's nobody. Then let us go for him, exploit his anger to go after his own people. But Martin proved to be a person of higher conviction. You see, the old politicians, you may disagree with them, but him, Nyahota Makulo and Co. You see, these are people, they have their conviction very intact, unlike the recent politicians whom you cannot trust when it comes to some of these things. Principled person. So they wanted to engineer his way of prosecuting, but he did not budge. And that resulted in the sort of back and forth that we saw. Kyei Jabin coming in, he was a friend because he was somebody who was very close and tied to the apron strings of the power that be at the time. They thought they could see him, he could act as a poodle whom they will be massaging and throwing around. But at some point in time, maybe he also realized that he had a legacy to protect because he's a legal guy who has also gained a lot of weight.
I've been a lawyer since 2003. I've been a lecturer at the University of Ghana since 2006. I've had my own law firm since 2014. My contemporaries will tell you, and I'm not bragging, it's one of the best legal practitioners in the country. It's one of the best lecturers in the University of Ghana. Indeed, I helped establish law schools around the country with my CV.
So he realized he wanted to do things different way, and then that brought the backlash. But for me, in as much as I blame the occupant for being ineffective and the office being useless, I think the constitutional legitimacy and the question around it make it almost impossible for them to do what they expected. That is why at some point in time, some of us were asking that the office must be scrapped altogether because it's a useless creation. And for that, resources that we've been pushing into the office must be channeled towards the AG, make it more resourceful. Or we can go the American way, find a way of electing prosecutors, re-engineer the constitution, and maybe give them certain power. Because the bottom line is that when I started, I said young people want to see criminals face prosecution. For the ordinary person, this analysis we are doing, they don't care. For the ordinary person sitting out there, they don't care whether special prosecutor, AG, whoever, they don't give a damn. All that they want to see is to see these criminals behind bars. And at the end of the day, after the 4 years, when you go back to them for power, they will ask you, how many of the criminals were you able to jail? And for them, whatever you have justification or not, they will not care. So I think that should act as some sort of incentive and motivation for government to do what is right, just to ensure the many as they can, they need to prosecute, because the scars of crimes that these people have left on the conscience of our democracy is quite key. And I got to a time our democracy was exposed to mortal damage, mortal attack, imminent crisis. The countries around us were going through coup d'etat upon coup d'etat. We were lucky not to slip into that particular arena. You understand? Because Ghanaians realized, oh, election was so close, let's just take our time and change government. But what if next time we don't get it like that? We must begin to punish crime. I've always maintained that any government that fails to set the red lines, the conventional red lines, and tell people, say, Charlie, we are friends, but these are my boundaries. You don't go. And as a state, you cannot show weakness, you cannot show mercy. Any state that begin to dole out mercy and those kind of things to people, you are done. Because people will always capitalize on that thing as weakness, and they will cling to their destructive best. Today, I was listening to the Public Accounts Committee. Look at the nonsense happening within the public service. People think that corruption is about politicians. No. The creme de la creme, the actual certified criminals are embedded within the public service, executing whole lot of nonsense. But because there is no political narrative around whatever, they are free. A submarine walking beneath, nobody sees them. But if you're able to expand the net of prosecution, make it very well, it will go after everybody.
Who do we hold responsible for not having had the net expanded? and people just keep getting away with it. We hear the auditors report so many times.
Yes.
All these levels of theft and crime, and it's like
I think the state and the coming back of President Mahama, I think these are some of the things that he needs to avail his mind, because lucky he has been president before, so today he's the most experienced person to take the reins of power today. Obviously, they know who that. You've seen it all. You understand? So this is an opportunity just to ensure that the weaknesses, the loopholes, the lacunas, everything we need to seal. Because one of the useless things I've seen in this country in recent time is the office, the how do you call it? The Auditor General's report.
Yeah.
It's one of the most useless things. We sit down, we allow people to steal. We put it in a big book. We come and read to the people.
Mr. Speaker, auditors identified duplicated and overstated claims by MDAs totaling 1.4 billion Ghana cedis. These MDAs include the Ministry of Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, an amount of 408.3 million Ghana cedis. Ministry of Energy, 386.7 million Ghana cedis. The National Service Scheme, 334.5 million Ghana cedis. Ministry of Roads and Highways, 125.65 million Ghana cedis. Ministry of Health, 114.2 million Ghana cedis. And the NCC, 8.8 million Ghana cedis.
And then what? No prosecution, nothing. You understand? We need to take certain corrective and urgent measures just to ensure that as they are happening, we are dealing with it. You see, the funny aspect is that if you go to some of the institutions, there are internal auditors sitting there. And this nonsense are happening right because they are there, they become part of the system.
Yeah.
And it's normal until maybe certain external people come, they find out the person, by the time they finish putting all these things together, the crimes might have been. That is why on daily basis we keep. And at the end of the day, the thing is that the punitive sanctions and the consequences that are supposed to lower down to these people, they don't. In a worst case scenario, they will tell you to. They have this word that they use. Is it surcharge? How many people even pay back? And at the end of the day, because crime, making people feel that this person has committed a crime. This is his punishment. It is punishment isn't always about. If you read about the theory of correction. It's not always about punishing the person, but also telling people out there to see how this person was punished. Because the whole idea is to send a louder message to people out there. But if you are negotiating with people behind the scenes, collecting money, and well, it doesn't serve any. No. We don't have to. So I think President Mahama will have to drag the bull by the horn this time around, and
especially with the resetting agenda.
Exactly.
This is where he has to go crazy.
Exactly. The institutional weaknesses, the madness happening behind in front of the Public Accounts Committee, showing on TV, and people very often reduce this thing to comedy.
It is comedy. It has become a sitcom on TV.
Yes, it's common.
Great. It's life.
We normalize it. And sometimes there is this extension of dirty politics and this dirty politics. You see people fighting among themselves. And the core issues at hand that all of us should feel ashamed. How did it happen? That we sat aloof as a country, as a system, for these unwitting criminals to outsmart the system by stealing these systems of money. Now that we are putting them on TV to tell the general public what did they do?
The question is not even how did it happen, is why does it continue to happen? It can become just a part of
it's on a repeat. Those where the DJs will tell you and a loop. It's on a repeat.
It's looping.
It's so annoying, and that communicates how unserious we are as a people. I keep telling people that if you look at the potentials of we Africans and the things that we have, it doesn't match our development. Because we have a lot of potential when it comes to human resource, natural resources, everything. But look at where we are as a country.
The problem is that we have remained a potential.
Yes.
That's all. Potential.
And potential. There has never been a time I am matching.
Thank you.
Yes, and that's a problem. And I think leadership must begin to. You see, we live in a part of the country where we don't value the ordinary people. That is the problem.
Yeah.
So today, if somebody backs an appointment, he sees himself as the new messiah in town.
Yeah.
Everything changes. But leadership must bring you down to the people, get closer, because that is where you get information. That is where people will flip the alternative side of the argument. You must be amenable to reasoning, amenable to common sense. You listen to the people. If you have friends, this is the time for you to engage them, to get honest feedback from them. Because you sitting at the top there, you think you are the messiah. By the time you realize, you slip to the ground. I was part of a research team, a foreign research team that came to this country to do a research. And because of NDA, I cannot share the details with you. But the thing I can share is that the conclusion is that there is no opposition party that has ever won political power in Ghana. What it means that it is always the government that drops power for a take. So if you have this concept and you avail your mind to, and you begin to straighten things up until power is dropped, the opposition can never take it. Because Akufo-Addo dropped power through the many mess up that he created. Because this is a gentleman, upon his coming, he will go to Makola and the women will put cloth there for him to walk on. You go to Abosokai, the poor people will collect money. You go to Kumasi, people will collect money just to support him because they saw a vision. But when he messed up, the same people wanted to chase him out. You understand? So you drop power. It is not opposition. All you need to do is to prepare yourself as an alternative on standby. So when the power is dropped, then you go and take it. You understand? But if your government and you're serious and you are unwilling to drop power.
But we also live in a country where electoral malpractices are so active that you can actually manage to not drop power,
massage it, and hold it.
That's also
yes, that is the flip side of it. But you see, Ghanaians have gotten the last election that we had. I have come to the realization that a lot of Ghanaians have abandoned those emotional, ethnocentric, fraternal affinity they very often build for party. Oh, me I'm gonna need to me and this. Oh, me Santini. You see. That colonial mindset, people are beginning to abandon it. That is why Ashanti region, you saw the vote that came from there. The NDC for the first time won so many seats. You see, people are becoming amenable and receptive to the information that is coming because the new media has brought on its wing, and the modernity has also brought enlightenment.
Let's move on. I come back to this. I come back to this. For a reason, I want to come back to this. But I want to move on to another thing that is happening currently that is so disgusting.
Yeah, very disgusting.
What do they call that
Xenophobic attack in
the South Africa, everyone says xenophobia, whatever they call it.
Yes.
Can you imagine?
Yes. It's
and I was seeing some, I'm sure many people have seen the videos, they are looking at some now, how they treat other Africans. I saw this one where this lady was telling this Ghanaian, why don't you go to Ghana and fix your country? What are you doing here?
This thing of you guys moving from one country to the other, it's no longer working. We don't want this as African people anymore. We are tired of seeing African migrants moving all over the world, refusing to fix your own countries. Now we're making it very clear to you guys, Utitina, we don't want you here. We want you to fix your countries.
What is causing this? Please,
I'm shocked the South Africans continue to advertise such barbarism and uncultured kind of mindset. You see, some of these things belong to the 12th century. Because where we are and the arena we find ourselves in, such a nonsense should never be given a place. And I'm very disappointed in the South African government. I wonder why the government will sit aloof for such nonsense to repeat itself. Because this is not the first time this nonsense is happening.
Exactly. Like you said.
Yes, and people have been reliving this horror in South Africa already. The crime rate in South Africa is another thing. They have their own issues dealing with it. But about a migrant coming in, you see, yesterday I listened to somebody say, "Oh, N0nsense Xen0phobic so be in the country." No, that can never be a justification. Even if Ghana is to turn to America tomorrow, still people will travel to other countries. People travel for various reasons, and you cannot stop people from traveling. You understand? So I think that South Africa do need to know. They don't even know their history, where they are coming from. The instrumental role other African countries like Zambia, like Angola, like Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah gave a lot of them scholarship to come and stay here.
And passports.
Yes. that the ANC was nurtured and brought the political party that won power outside South Africa, because within South Africa it was a no-go area. The whole continent came together, fought for South Africa, for them to be liberated from what they called apartheid.
People of South Africa do not know what happened before they gained their freedom. The whole of this continent stood behind South Africa. The whole of Africa stood behind South Africa to fight against apartheid. I remember all of us growing up as secondary school children, went on marches. We were part of the African Youth Command. We demonstrated, we boycotted classes and all that, all in the fight against apartheid. Indeed, for several of the countries where their citizens have been brutalized in South Africa, these are countries that were called frontline states that harbored the freedom fighters, of South Africa, and gave them safe haven, gave them passports, to be able to avoid the clutches of the apartheid regime.
And today, these people have the gut and the infantry to call people migrants.
We are tired of seeing African migrants moving all over the world, refusing to fix your own countries. Now we're making it very clear to you guys, Utitina, we don't want you here. We want you to fix your countries.
The same migrant fought for you. I am not voting for illegality if there is somebody in your country, and even if the person is without document, the best you can do is to go and report to the authorities. You have no damn right as a citizen to approach somebody to physically. That is barbaric. That is absolute nonsense. And it is the government that is behind the scenes motivating people to do some of this nonsense. The reason I'm saying that is that it has happened once, it has happened twice. Nobody has been prosecuted. No apology, nothing. And it continues. And they are talking about investment. Ghanaians in South Africans are there working. You have your company spread outside your shores. So if you are sensible people, you should be the last people to be doing this thing. MTN is making much of it profit from Nigeria because of the population. The market there is big. South Africa, your companies are here, Ghana, making a lot of money. Absa Bank, that was purchased from Barclays, a South African company, ShopRite, and there are thousands of what we can mention, all operating offshore. Have people attacked it? You see, these people are narrow-minded individuals who should be put back in prison because they don't belong to society. Because some of these things, I don't know, their unconscious mindset is too much. South Africa, the sad aspect is most of them don't travel. So yes, some of them are local champions, so they think within the world revolves around them. You understand? They need to appreciate that where the world is evolving to, you cannot build a nation with your own people. America became great. It's unfortunate Donald Trump has attempted to depart from this. America was made a center of attraction for the global elite, the intellectuals across board. So if you are best in China, you go to America. If you go to Huawei, the best brains behind the new engineering AI that is going on, all of them were schooled in America, the elite universities, and other countries the same thing. So you cannot sit in isolation as a country and think that, hey, I can do it on my own. You need to do cross-border, and people will come into your country the same way you cross-border to other. Just imagine what they are doing to Nigerians and Ghanaians. Ghanaians walk up to them and say, we are also doing reprisal attacks. What do you think will happen? I think that the African Union, he says something, because some of these things should have they should have come for some crisis emergency meeting to mitigate this nonsense. Immediately. Because UN
at the highest level.
But I don't know what the UN is doing. Because this thing going on the screens, everybody sees it.
If you know that you are not a South African citizen, may you please stand up and leave our hospital. Anyone who is not a South African citizen, just because of this side, please stabilize them. After they've been stabilized, you can discharge them. These people, they had too much privileges to have files in our hospital. It ends here and it ends now. It's a South African public hospital. Anyone who's not a South African citizen here may please be stabilized. After that, they leave our hospital. My good doctors, may you please stabilize all the foreign nationals. After they've been stabilized, can you please discharge them? They need to go seek medical attention from a private facility, not here.
Why are they not conveying an emergency kind of way to call the South African government to order? and give them ultimatum to hold this nonsense. Else, any South African living in other jurisdiction will be expelled within 24 hours. And including their companies. And you think this nonsense will continue? I think leadership in Africa, to a certain extent, must show leadership in this particular regard. ECOWAS and Co. Yeah, the mere condemnation internally within our country.
But everything is that. Oh, they meet, they have a conference, they condemn it, and that's it. But actions that you're talking about, your companies will be affected.
Exactly. You
then they'll start thinking.
You threaten them back. Because you see, if you go to South Africa, there have been several instances as a typical South African, you see, they are ruffian people. The typical South African person is somebody who doesn't travel, local mindset, and they think that South Africa is their country, nobody should come there. They can just walk into a Nigerian man's shop and buy something, you ask for money, he will shoot you and kill you. They can see you on the street and they will rob you. Daylight, people will be there, they will not mind you. That is their life. Prostitution, crime, and those kind of stuff. But you see, they must begin to embrace, because cross-culture, that kind of way, also come with its own enlightenment. You see, Nigerians are very smart because they travel a lot. Because when you travel, it brings some sort of that cultural kind of, you get exposed to other cultures. You get opportunity to match it with your own. You know where you lack, you patch up and those kind of stuff. It's a learning curve. Traveling, whole lot of. So I think that this barbaric act must be condemned. I am not looking at the country's President Mahama just condemning, the Foreign Affairs Ministry just condemning. No.
It is really regrettable that at this time, when we've won such a huge victory at the United Nations, the Global South has come together, all Africans, people of African descent have come together, 123 countries sending a clear message against the transatlantic enslavement of our forebears, that in this modern era, we will see such hatred, such xenophobia against each other, against Africans. It is totally unacceptable. It is condemnable. And we will do everything as a government to protect our nationals and to make sure that we demand from the South African government to protect our citizens and to keep them safe, because they owe them that duty of care. Just as we will continue to make sure that all South Africans living in Ghana are safe, are protected, and we will not encourage any reprisal attack. We will condemn it, and we will not even contemplate it. And we know that Ghanaians are very welcoming, very hospitable, very peace-loving people, and they will not do that. So I do hope that this will be the last round of xenophobic attack that we will be seeing in South Africa.
The whole Africa must come together, because this is not something that is happening once. It has happened, it has been on repeat, has been on repeat. Next time we don't know what is going to happen. And I think other Africans should also prepare. When this thing happens and you kill somebody's relative, you think they will leave your companies here? For instance, if we wake up today and Ghanaians march up to MTN head office, and they said that they will not do anything, but they will not allow them to operate. They will not allow. Do you know what is going to happen? You understand? So I think these are acts that belong to the 1200th century. Very barbaric, very primitive, very antediluvian. And I wonder why the South African government will sit there and allow this nonsense, knowing the key role countries like Angola, Zambia, Ghana, and several other African countries stay
in their liberation,
including musicians, people who use their time, wrote music just to ensure that they were part of the struggle. We were in it with you. When South Africa gained its independence and that the day, the Freedom Day, or even the first celebration, look at African leaders who went there to celebrate with them. And today, these uncultured beings are all over on street, harming and threatening people. It's very embarrassing. I feel ashamed as an African, because it's an act
very
of embarrassing. It's very embarrassing. It's barbaric.
Because I can see Europeans who were watching this on YouTube. Look at those Africans.
They have Africans. That is who they are.
And this undermines everything that we speak about when we talk about mobilizing Africa, and Africa is something as well.
Yes. We are on the hills advocating for African continental free trade, those kind of way. All these are bottlenecks.
Yes.
Because an investor from Ghana cannot go to South Africa. Fortunately for Ghanaians, we don't even set up companies, we open churches.
But they haven't attacked the churches too, surprisingly.
Yeah, I said they are doing miracle job. Jesus will save them. So South Africans are bringing big business, like MTN, ShopRite. They are sucking our money, they are taking it away. We are extending Jesus to them. So that's Ghana for you. That's fine. But I think on the more serious note, I think that we need to tell them that they cannot continue to do these things.
We want to see at the highest level.
At the highest level.
The president or whoever should come out.
Come out and do. You don't see any serious condemnation. The last time it happened, it was led by a supposed chief. A prominent person within South Africa. And this thing is being spearheaded by the same so-called activists and political figures. You understand? And it's nasty. My point is that if you find Nigerian, a Ghanaian, who has outstayed his passport or is illegally in your country, the best you can do, go and report him to the authorities and let the authorities. And in Ghana, that is what has been happening. It is the immigration service who has been taking a lot of people without this thing, lawful permit out of the country. They will go through legal process and they will expatriate you to go to your country. You understand? You cannot go physical and begin to attack people because they also have relatives. Nigerians, the way you see them, or if you attack one, they will attack you back. You understand? I think the South African government need to be serious. They are complicit in every regard. Because the fact that in the past nobody has been prosecuted, the fact that this thing keep repeating.
Why is it good for them politically to have? Is it a distraction for them? For them? Why would they be complicit in it? Why is that lack of focus on really attacking this problem?
So it's about local politics. So you see, the politics revolves around narrative in Africa. There is a certain impression that we have created a job, but it is foreigners who have come to take your job. So that narrative has been created for the frustrated South African guy
who doesn't have a job.
Is
pissed with the Ghanaians selling.
This guy has taken my job. You understand? Such sentiments recently evolved in the UK. They were going through the same thing, and I saw an interview where the gentleman saw him say, "Why are you not working?" I said, "The migrant have taken my job." I said, "Where is your certificate?" Obviously, they've taken it. They've sat there for the migrant to come there. They've schooled and so you see, this is a purposeless person. He doesn't have life. And when they see you and you're moving on in life, they envy you. Why should a foreigner come into my country? But it takes a lot to do this. In Ghana, you see these Nigerian guys selling chargers and stuff. After 2 years, you see them owning a shop. After 4 or 5 years, you see them importing. That is their nature. There are those who are engaging in criminal activity stuff. But you see, they are very entrepreneurial people. So when you see them, it didn't just happen. They've really suffered for it. Exactly. So we must begin to respect this. And Africa, if we would develop, it will take the concerted effort of us, or I keep telling people, the reason why I hate arrogance at the highest level is that when it comes to governance proper, it doesn't take PhD holders. It doesn't take the president, ministers. It takes the concerted effort of us all. Whether the person is a carpenter, the person is a trotro driver, the person is a delivery boy, the person is a whoever. It is the aggregation of these multitask and the multi-role that we play that maximize at the national level to give us the economy. So you cannot look down on anybody. Because the role that somebody plays, sitting in front of the toilet, collecting money, if that person locks it up, and you are the minister, an emergency, you go, the place is locked up.
You're messed up.
You messed up, you understand? So we must begin to respect people for who they are, what they do. You are now sitting here talking. If the cameraman decides, hey, Charlie, I'm done, I'm going, do you think whatever we are saying will see the light of day?
And after we all finish, the editor says, oh, you guys
I won't edit. So we must be, so
appreciate the role that each.
But people watch the video, oh, KSM is doing well, Avine is doing well, but they forget that somebody is also behind putting script together and those kind of. So I don't like disrespecting people. It doesn't matter who the person is. For us to grow, we need to grow together. That's the reason why the last time this thing has always been we rise by lifting others. And that is something Africans we don't do. Sometimes they see it like a competition. People see you have talent, and they see you as a competitor.
The only way they can rise is to suppress
you. So where you are to be provided with the incentive, the tools and everything to bring the best out of you to help, that is the time they will marginalize you, because the person think that, hey, this guy is a threat to you. Threat for what?
Because we'll find time to talk about that. But
in nation building, there is no contest.
Something to that I'd like to pick your brains quickly before you leave here.
Okay.
You talked about the churches are safe there because they have the miracles and everything. Which brings me to what is now trending like crazy in Ghana.
Okay.
This woman who looked in the faces of elders in the church and says, "You are all robbers."
Yes.
Bible say, "You did too true, muno. Already a makwan am yan fire sanka. You toss to be a mostly will be our baby. To so do now you're unrobber." Bible neka. Papa yeka unrobber na from wo bishop so suffocate to us so. I saw him paying for. Still what the force mo ya krom for. Serious.
Okay.
What you krom for?
What does that tell you of where Ghanaians are? What is surprising me is this. Maybe you were not born, Ivan. Back in the day, long time ago, I took this matter on. I was calling them charlatans. I didn't call them robbers. I called them pickpockets. And the whole of Ghana practically came against me. But this time, this woman said it. There are those who don't like it. But most of the people I've read appreciate it. They are picking her up. What is changing now and what is happening now? Before we go, give me your views on that.
I think it's the same enlightenment crusade and the campaign that is going on. I have said it in the past that if we get to a time where majority of Ghanaians become enlightened, about 90% of churches running around will collapse. Because some of these things, they are not churches. Some are comedy centers, some are commercial entities, and some are business ventures that people are running.
Most are business ventures.
Business ventures. But they have gullible customers that they can easily sway. As a gullible customers,
amazingly gullible.
They can easily sway using some of these things. But they say, I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic. I keep telling people I was born a Catholic and I will die as a Catholic. Nothing will change that. My belief is within me. I don't put it in front of me, going around selling religion, those kind of stuff. Everything I have is between me and my God, and the thing is to be good to others. But these people have gone to a extent of exploiting gullible minds out there for business. And even, unfortunately, the so-called official or orthodox churches have popped into some of these robbing things.
Because they've realized that that's the best way to make money.
You go to the church, you find a lot of poor people who require help. I know people who are in the university, they drop out the way because their father died. The church could not even extend help, but they will always take away from you. And the pastors and staff will take the money, send their kids abroad. You can do a background check. The Pentecost, the Methodist churches, the big guys, all of them have their kids schooling abroad. And the poor people who are always the contractors who are always bringing the money, some of them, and the poor young people are also masquerading. They are very hungry. So the church is supposed to be a community that is to be amenable to the concerns. The poor people within should be your priority. You give them that comfort, because a lot of people run to church because they have a petrified soul. They need a certain comfort. So they need to find that refuge point. The church need to provide them. But if they come and if you don't have money, you are not accepted. If you cannot provide more, you're not respected. Every day it is about give this, give that, and you don't see the church giving back to society. You go to the church and you realize that the people sitting there, none of them has ever benefited, and some of these people threaten them that you going to the church will not change anything. You understand? So when people begin to feed from the cup of enlightenment and they appreciate the information, the reality.
It all boils down to a very sad, unfortunate, archaic mindset. Somebody is going to church so that when they die, the church can bury them. And the whole living so that they can be buried by the church.
And you see, the nonsense aspect of this, I keep telling people that every Christian wants to go to heaven. Yes. So we see, resurrection is a very seductive word. resurrection, everybody want to resurrect, but they forget that before you resurrect, you must die. That is what people forget. But the thing is that we are going to heaven. That's fine. As Christians, we may believe that. But you see, we have a viable society interacting with people. Yeah. If we cannot make here a better place, you are thinking about where you go
when you die.
There are evidence that people have lived here 100 years.
Yeah.
Somebody has lived here 90 years. Yeah. Where you are wishing to go, there is no evidence that somebody has even survived there a day. But you are putting everything to go there. But there is a reason why God brought us here. To be good to one another.
Yes.
He could have created all of us and thrown us to heaven direct. What is the point sitting here? There is a reason. So I think people must be sensible and reasonable and begin to understand that we are here for a reason. To help lift each other.
Yeah.
So that we move on both religious, political, whatever aspect.
Church is all about control. Control the people, control their mind,
the mindset,
and put fear in them. That if they don't keep doling money, they have nowhere to go. One time I was listening to some program on radio, some Christian program, and somebody called in a woman who you can tell is pained. She's selling, she's not making money, she has invested so much, she's not progressing. And the pastor in house, the first question I said, now what you are 30 there? So I can't use that word. You know, what you want to find out, what are you selling? What is the location? What intelligent ideas why the business may not be. You say, like the whole world is so simple that once you pay your tithe there, everything is guaranteed. And this is what the church is fronting.
There are instances a young guy lost his father. He was jobless. He was a tenant to a supposed church person. And the person said that if he doesn't have money, then he should exit the room. Because he needed money to go and pay his tithe. You see how unreasonable it is? You understand me? So when I meet people on the street, I pay my tithe to them. If there is any tithe to be paid. I don't want anybody to force me. I should go and pay tithe to anybody. If I go to church and I want to give out money, I know the money is coming willingly from me. Nobody can coerce or use any words to influence me to.
Mr. Sharpshooter,
I won't do that.
You see why I call you? I found the sharpshooter. We don't need the terrible. I found the sharpshooter. Say, I've been watching you on TV everywhere you go in there because I am. I'm the sharpshooter. We shoot sharp. And the last place I wanted to shoot sharp, then we can wrap this up. I did something. The last show I did was on the youth of Ghana and how misguided they are.
The youth.
I started by blaming ourselves. I mean, my generation. That we didn't leave any substantial legacy for them to inherit. So I can't blame them. Most of what they are doing or what they are is what they see. And we have set those trends for them to see. And when they start behaving like that, they say, but where are they learning these things from? Let me get to your sharpshooting ideas on this before we wrap up.
I think it's quite unfortunate because where the world is pacing to and the advances other countries are doing, fortunately for us, the resources that is needed at this time to project any country around the world is the human and the natural. And Africa, that is what we are blessed with. So the anticipation has always been that Africa will capitalize on the strength and the potential of its young people to take over the world that is emerging. But we haven't even seen that. And the young people, the sad aspect is they've been poisoned for so long. I keep telling people that what you keep hearing, if you're not fortunate, you become that thing. You may, I think the last video you did, that was intellectually stimulated argument that every young people should spend time and listen to. But you see them on various social media platforms consuming nonsense, absolute craps, things that are very detrimental. They will not listen to some of these things. You understand? So when you see those things, you must begin to worry because the mindset of the people that you are trying to reconnect to development is refocused somewhere. That mind is interested in following nasty stuff on social media. And what you listen to and what you think is what you become, you may end up becoming that thing. So you veered off from development. You veer off from your goals and aspirations, the potential that you have as a country. The reason why you go on social media platform, just go and look at things that trend in this country. People are doing it intellectually stimulated argument that you need to listen and take a cue from. But for them, That is a non-starter for them. Certain gossip somewhere, certain something that you don't want to mention. People can put cameras in front of them and insulting other people using unprintable language. They will spend their time and watch those things. So that gives an indication that, like we said, people, they've been failed. I mean, I don't want to blame the average Ghanaian. It is now that enlightenment is trying to bring some of them behind the bridge. They are coming. So we need to heighten this advocacy just to ensure that we bring all of them, because most of them are lost to the world of disinformation and misinformation. They are lost. And somebody who is lost can even speak sense to that person. Because you need to pick them, unscript the dirty things they've learned before you can begin to educate them. You understand? It's very, very important, because until we are able to connect the youth to development path and begin to see how we can leverage on their potential for the next Ghana to take off, we will continue to wonder. So the few ones who will be able to gather money will go and give it to connection mine, either they will be successful or not, to go and labor in Europe. Because at this point in time, looking at what is happening in places like UK, Canada, it's very heart-wrenching to see young people spending money traveling to UK to go and do what? To go, because when you are going, there is this fancy thing, but when you get there, some of you return from the place and you can give a big distance. You see, there is no place better than home. You understand? So I think that we must begin to see the potential. Government must also begin to see that youth unemployment threatens the national cohesion and integration, and that must be a priority. It doesn't matter what it does. If the youth are not made a priority, we will come to square zero. Because if you go back to the Arab Spring, what spearheaded it was a certain young person who became so frustrated after school, not finding a job, and it triggered a wave of violent revolution in the whole of North Africa, which extended even to the other part of the world. We don't want to experience that here. So I think that we must be guiding the young people. The narrative around our politics, everything need to be gathered in such a way that it will tailor toward nurturing the potential in them. But as long as they continue to consume some of this nasty stuff on social media and their mind get poisoned, a poisoned mind cannot be used to develop anything. Never. Because that person is lost forever. You understand? We must begin to re-educate. Education is not about school and certificate. Even today, who go to the university, come out with certificate, have disappointed everybody. You understand? Because there are very people who are doing this nasty stuff on various political platforms. When you see them, you take up the coat, you realize
look at the background of the looters.
They been
pressed academic lawyers.
That is why the last time I said, when you take out the certificate, because there is nothing that will I'm educated apart from the paper. But education must reflect the way you speak, the way you talk, the way you argue. You don't need to tell people I'm a lawyer. You don't need to tell people I went to this school. The very moment people listen to you, that enlightenment alone should give a vindication to the fact that this guy is learned or enlightened. You understand? So I think if we begin to see things from that angle, and the government also begin to see young people as a priority, the future of the nation. Because if you go to Germany today, they realize that the birth rate is very low. It has depreciated, and those dying are not matching those being given birth to. So there is this social re-engineering program that they've introduced. If you give birth to a child in Germany today, you are more than a queen. The nation will make sure that they take care of you, because they need those young people to grow the nation. But fortunately, we have. If you go to this country, Nigeria, that is the most populous country when it comes to birth rate, the largest, 6 to 7 averagely per woman. That is an envy of every nation, even America. They don't have it. We have it here. What do you see? When you see the Niger guys, they're always pushing metals. At the age of 19, he's pushing metal to do what? Because of poverty. His potential is never respected, because a certain big man sitting somewhere thinks that he's a politician and he has to drive V8, take their girlfriend to shopping somewhere, buy bags. These people, the cost of a single bag a politician will buy for a girlfriend can change the life of these young people who are pushing truck on the street. We are very wicked as people, Africans.
Can buy 16 new hospital beds for women delivering on the floor and things like that.
That is why when people blame democracy, I say don't blame democracy, because this is no democracy. We have adopted a convenient part of it, that is elections, but the critical component, making institutional discretion overtake individual discretion, we've abandoned that part. individuals are making their own decision. You are blaming democracy for the failure. No, people who have introduced democracy in its pristine purity are gaining the dividend. America is making, UK and other people are making. So we need to see the way we go about our governance architecture.
On that note, Sharpshooter, I will need you back because
sure, we have to do part 2. We have to do part 2.
I'll need you back.
Sure.
There's so much to talk about.
This
is the only way we can start engaging people's minds.
Yes.
Which will translate to their heart and then their actions. As Jesse Jackson of blessed memory said, he says, if the mind can conceive it and the heart can believe it,
you can do
then
it.
You can achieve it. So I think we have to now start working on the mind.
And we dwell much on the social space, the social. There are a lot of things happening within the social realm that I think we need to. Very often, politics overshadow everything, and these issues are pushed the periphery. But I think we need to give prominence.
So I'll bring you more often.
Sure, I'll be coming. I'm always available for you.
You know, I call him the sharpshooter. I don't have to explain anything. Ivan the sharpshooter. From now on, that's his name. Ivan.
Thank you, sharpshooter, picking it.
Thank you very much. I wish to be seeing you soon.
Thank you.
So until we come your way again with another edition of Unfiltered, this has been KSM, your host, featuring the sharpshooter. See you next time.